Sweet. We are good to go. I can cut
Rocket.
out the front.
That's what she said.
Yes.
I don't think we should.
Okay,
That in
let's just,
itself is a good little clip. All
perfect.
right, so you can screen share too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Pull it up. And
Hmm.
there we go.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So welcome back to my friend Bethany Savage, our financial professional.
Woohoo.
Um, Doing a quick little follow-up here in 2024. Thanks for coming back with us, Beth.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And congratulations on the official launch of your business.
Thank you. That was super awesome. Had 30 people out to my grand opening last week. So things are moving forward. It's awesome.
Amazing. Congrats. You should be so proud.
Thanks.
So, with that, Beth is actually going to share some tips for financial resiliency today and just a little part of her grab bag and what she offers
Yeah.
in her financial assistance business. So, if you have anything to say to that, Beth, before we get started.
I call it my financial fanny pack of fun stuff. So
Oh,
that's
I
what I
love
have to
that.
offer.
Financial fanny pack of fun.
All right. Yeah, let's get going. So these are just some bigger overview concepts for folks to kind of start thinking about what they need to do to get where they want to go, essentially. So some statistics here. Less than 0.5% of the general population feels able to understand their financial matters. A lot of people just feel lost and overwhelmed when it comes to finances. And if you don't have a dartboard to even throw your darts at, like where are you going? With 36% of the general population not having a financial plan, there's just that sense of overwhelm and uncertainty that I think is a really not a strong place to start. And it's a really easy thing to fix. So having somebody to talk to that is comfortable with finances, like that's a huge thing. And it doesn't have to be a big, scary conversation. It's just getting some numbers in place so you know where you're going. So just right off the bat, having a plan, even if it's a small, simple one, is a really good place to start. So tip number one is know your baseline. Just starting off with like, how much money do you spend every month? That's a lot of people just don't track these things. And it's always a scary realization at the end of the month, to look in your bank account and be like, oh no, what happened this last month? Or where am I right now? What bills are coming up? You know. Um, Secondly, do you know how much debt you currently have and what the interest rate is on it? Um, just all your different loans, your credit cards, your line of credit, your student loans, like having a really good idea of what the interest rate you're paying on all of those things are, because that's going to dictate really overall how much money is going out the door in the end. Like you might think it's your $200 a month payment, but the interest rate on top of that is, going to take longer to pay off. So just know your baseline. I think that's a really important place to start. What's coming in, what's going out. All right. Looking forward. This is no one really wants to think that far ahead. I didn't in my 20s. I was like, retirement's so far away. I don't care. Like, but it's super important to know what kind of life you want to live in retirement, when you want to retire, and if it's even going to be feasible. A lot of people now in Canada are concerned that they're not going to have enough money for retirement. You can't depend on, your government pension if you're lucky enough to have a government job because you don't know for sure it's going to be around by the time you get to retirement. So you have to start making steps to save yourself in your longer term life, right? So that's a super important point to recognize. Like, how much money are you going to need by the time you want to quit your job to get you through the rest of those years when you're no longer working? Cost of living is just continuing to go up. um, Medical advances are going to ensure that you're probably going to live longer than you're currently expecting. Like right now, the life expectancy is around 85 years old in Canada, but I mean, we can probably imagine that's going to go up. So, secondly, do you know your current net wealth and do you track it yearly? If you don't have a good idea of like your assets, your liabilities, where you're sitting, um, I think it's kind of fun to track that too, because as you start paying down debt and your net worth goes up, it's a really good feeling. And it's kind of a fun thing to do quarterly. Just sit down and see where you're at and and feel good about the movement forward that you're making. Having a little financial date with yourself where you like light a candle and have a glass of wine and just look over your situation is a good habit to get into. And it is a form of self-care, honestly. So I think that's a fun thing to promote. And then finally, do you have a clear financial goal and know the monthly target to reach it? And obviously, people are going to have different goals throughout their life, and those goals are going to, change depending on their priorities. If you've got, children and you want to pay for their education, that's a really clear financial goal. If you have a trip that you want to take in 2 years, that's a financial goal. But just setting out those numbers and writing down like what you have now and where you want to go and how to get there is super important. So it's just a little make yourself a roadmap and nav your life out. I think this one's super important. Don't overcomplicate things. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4 is kind of like your financial priority list here. So first and foremost, if you don't have one, get an emergency fund in place and start building it. You might not have a lot to put in that right now, but just get started. Even if it's $5 a month, that's all you could budget for. Start somewhere. Um, Professionals recommend at least like a minimum of 3 months of your living expenses set aside in a high interest savings account that is easily accessible and is, giving you a little bit of a rate of return. High interest savings accounts that I can build right now are about 4.5% rate of return. So that is no risk, just sitting there passively building some wealth as well. And you've got that emergency savings in case something happens. You need your dryer breaks, your furnace explodes, a car repair is needed, that sort of thing, a vet bill that you weren't expecting. It's for those kinds of things that just pop up. You don't want to carry that load on your credit card. You've got an emergency fund to cover it. Secondly, you want to focus on your high interest debt first. So anything that's more than 7% interest rate, start paying that down. So you're going to first focus on the emergency fund, then second, make an intense focus on the high interest debt that you are carrying and get that paid down. Third, once your high interest debt is paid down, you can start to, do the longer term investing for retirement while paying off your lower interest debt. So anything that's typically less than 7% interest rate is considered a lower interest debt. So you're doing those two things consecutively. So investing and paying off lower interest debt. And we will talk a little bit more in another chat stuff about tax-free savings accounts, but tax-free savings account is an amazing vehicle to invest for long-term as well as short-term. But it's like it says in the name, everything that comes out of there is tax-free. So this is one of the really cool vehicles to push your investments and your savings. So that's why I have specifically into a tax-free savings invested for growth in this point. And last but not least, after those 3 priorities are complete, then you can start saving for other big life events that are coming up. Those are your priorities to kind of help you strategize where you want to focus your energy and your money. Tip number 4, protection. A lot of people don't like to think about, passing away unexpectedly, or having a critical illness hit them or a disability. These things are not fun to think about, talk about, but they are super important. Life insurance, almost 50% of Canadians don't have any life insurance in place. They don't know where to start. They don't know how much they need. And they're, sometimes just afraid to talk about it. So life insurance is, if you have kids, if you have family, if you have debt, even more important than if you're a young, healthy person. But even if you're just a young, healthy person with no dependents, life insurance is still really important. So it's going to protect your family against the loss of income if you should pass away, protect your family assets, pay off debt in the case of your death, final expenses, funeral expenses, all the taxes that are going to come at you when someone passes away. Like, these aren't fun things to talk about, but they're supremely important. So ensuring that you are properly protected, should the worst case scenario occur, something that everyone should be thinking about, talking about, and getting in place.
Get rid of the taboo now.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. And I think it's really important to think about yourself in little different time periods. So when you get your paycheck, it's super important to just automate paying yourself first, pay future Beth first, future Steph first. So when you get that paycheck, just automate minimum of 10% of that paycheck into your retirement investments. So, or your emergency savings, if that's what you're working on first, right? Like, get that in there, that's taken care of. And then you're going to focus on past you. So all of the commitments that you've already made in the past month, like your loans, your credit cards, your living expenses, those bare necessities.
I thought it said bar necessities.
Bare necessities. Yeah, so pay all that, and then finally pay current you. So the money that you want to spend to make life enjoyable, and of course, trying to live with congruence with your values and your dreams and what's actually important to you. That's the last thing that you should be focusing on. Might not sound very fun, but if you do this, you're going to be setting yourself up really well for future you, taking care of past commitments, and then finally, having some fun with what you do have left over. And it's really easy if you automate these things that you're not even going to really miss it after the first few months, to get used to the change. And I would honestly argue that if you're not feeling the crunch a little bit, then maybe you haven't set aside enough for future you. So like, once you're like comfortable and you're living your good life again, maybe double check those numbers and be like, hey, could I put a little bit more away for future me? And just check in with that.
The post-dated transactions were a game changer for me personally. And
Same.
that includes paying bills and everything. It's just
the more you don't have to think about. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I push this because I think it is important to have a financial professional in your life, even just to ask questions, bounce ideas off of. It's important to talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, and they've been trained for it. So if you don't understand concepts like interest rates, inflation, investment risk, your personal risk profile for investing, talk to somebody who is knowledgeable in these areas, and improve your financial literacy. The more confident you are in these concepts, the easier it is going to be to set yourself up for financial security. So, and last but not least, I'll just promote myself a little bit here. So I am a financial professional. I will offer personalized financial strategies for folks. I'm licensed in Ontario, BC, and the Yukon. And if you're not in one of those provinces, I can definitely reach out to a colleague of mine to make sure that somebody can talk to somebody professional. Yeah. So you can scan me and there's all my contact information at the bottom.
Well,
That's all I
thank you
have for.
so much. Wow. Amazing, Beth. Thank you.
You're
That's,
welcome. Fast and furious.
oh man, we've got so much that we can come back to, and I really look forward to doing future videos. Like you said, we'd like to break down just the different types of accounts and savings accounts that are out there.
Mhm.
And I think the biggest thing, like we had said, money, it can't be taboo anymore. We need to break the stigma, because in this world of inflation and our incomes aren't going up, we really need to be mindful with our spending and to be aware of where we're even sitting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Have a starting point, know where you're going. It's
The
huge.
starting point, and coming from it from a non-judgmental place, because I think
Yeah.
that avoidance is what will continue to
Yeah.
to be a problem.
Exactly. Yeah. The more you're judging yourself, the harder it is going to be to start. So just put all the judgments aside and just sit down and take a look at it, or contact somebody to help you sit down and take a look at it. It's not as
If
scary
only we
as
had
you
knew
think it is.
somebody.
Right?
But honestly, the peace of mind down the road for future you will be priceless.
Yes, indeed. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Steph. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. You're doing so awesome. I can't wait to chat again soon for our next video. And for those of you who may have any questions for Beth, please fire us off a message and we can include them in the next video.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, we'll talk
Thank
soon, Steph.
you. Can't wait. Have a great day, everybody.